Hi everyone, this is Strategy State's business idea validation checklist. This corresponds with the article that we have on our website at strategystate.com. So it's much easier to use this tool after you've read the article. It makes much more sense and it explains every step of the process. Let's go through it. All right, so up here you want to just put in your idea and a short description of what the idea of your business idea is, what it does, the value that it adds, and what problem it solves. So the first thing that we tell people to do is to conduct some basic online research. So you'd be surprised how many people don't search, the basic stuff before they launch into a business. So there's a list of some, the basics of what you would do before you even contemplate moving forward. The next thing we've got here is a competitor analysis. So just identify some competitors that are doing what your idea is, or something very similar, and just having a look. And they might be huge companies, or really successful, or big brands, or they might be have been doing it for 20, 30 years really well. Next step is talk to some actual customers, so people that have um, uh, bought the product or service in the past, or people that are the target market, and just get their ideas on it. Your product or service might have a slightly different spin to it, or come at a different angle, so get their ideas on that. The next step we've got there is buying your competitors' products. Now, all business ideas are different depending on what your idea is. You may be able to purchase your competitors' products or products that are already on the market. What you want to do there is you want to sort of look at them and pull them apart and test them, and sort of really get an idea of what's being produced. And you need to ask yourself this question: how are you going to add value? How are you going to make your product stand out or better or have more features? The next step we've got is some keyword and sort of more advanced web research. So here are just a short list of tools that we suggest that you use. You basically want to figure out what the keywords are that are going to drive that product, and then from there you can sort of ascertain what help build your marketing budget if you go down that route, and what does it cost for paid digital marketing and things like that. So that's that step. The next one is online analysis. So Facebook and LinkedIn, there's a ton of information on market size and costs and what's happening in there. So that may be helpful depending on what your idea is. Industry benchmarking. Now this one is often overlooked. So depending on your idea, if it's a traditional or established industry, there's going to be benchmarks on that industry. So what the likely turnovers are, turnover ranges, profit losses, different percentages and ratios for that industry. So that's something that you would definitely look at if you were looking at starting in a business that was traditional or established industry. There's also a lot of information uh, that industry associations have. So definitely look at that. And in terms of gathering information on the industry, you might want to set up some Google Alerts or something similar to start uh, gaining and soaking up the information on that industry. Now we get into the more sort of financial aspect of your idea. You need to know these are all the basic things, startup costs and what the operational costs are, and unit and variable costs, fixed cost break even, and working capital, how much money you're going to need to have in the bank to, to run the company or the business or the idea effectively, and maybe what the cash flow working budget would look like. So these are all the basic sort of financial things that you would consider, especially if it's an idea that's going to require considerable capital to start up. Next, we move on to geographical analysis. So your product might be a service, so there might be a certain area that you can only service. So the idea behind that is how far are you willing to travel, and what's the population and the size of the target market within that. So you might find that you've got a great idea for a service, but there's not enough people, or whatever. So that's something to consider. The learning curve. So depending on the idea you have, the learning curve will fall under low, medium, or high. So have a think about that, and you'll have a lot more information. Um, once you've done some research as to what the learning is involved. If you're in an established industry and you've already got a lot of experience, the learning curve for you might be really low because you've been doing it for 20 years or something. Okay, established industries. So if you can, and depending on the idea, you can talk to some experienced operators that are already operating within that industry. And there's also operators that may have left that industry, and they're great people to talk to as well because you can ask them, what was it like? What were the challenges? And these people here, the people that left, they're often going to be very, very honest. These people may not be as honest, the experienced operators, because they might think that you're going to come in and cut into their business or whatever. But these people here that have left the industry, they're going to be um, overly honest in some cases, which just makes them a great group of people to talk to. Now we get down to some legal stuff. So with your idea, you need to figure out if there are license, certifications, permits, or any other kind of legal requirements that you need to operate within that industry. Um, some of these license or certifications might be really hard to get. There might be timeframes around um, when they release those certifications. So the tests might be once a year or once every 2 years or whatever. So you need to figure all that out before you jump into an idea and fully commit. This is another great place to gain information from, and that's businesses for sale. So if your idea is of a more traditional nature or established industry, as we mentioned before, there will often be a lot of these businesses for sale. And when they list these businesses, there's lots of information they give away. It could be the amount of customers they have, or turnover, or the equipment that they use, or how many pounds of coffee they sell each month, whatever. And then you can work backwards from that and say, okay, so if that's the turnover, and then they're doing this many pounds of coffee, then da da da, and you can sort of start putting your own calculations together. So there's a lot of information with businesses for sale. Seeking feedback. So if your idea is new or novel or niche or uh, weird or wacky or whatever, you may want to seek some feedback from the outside. So you can do that through social media, surveys, Mailchimp, and other platforms, and certain subreddits on Reddit may be useful, and say, hey, you guys, I've got this idea. This is da da da. This is the value proposition. We'd be different because of X, Y, Z. What do you think? Another thing is creating a feedback or a focus group. So if your idea is really niche, you may want to seek feedback from specialists within that industry. So create an Excel sheet or whatever it is, and contact these people and either set up a Skype or send them an email or a survey or something, and ask them some really technical, detailed questions as to how they would approach, or how you could better approach your idea. Okay, another thing you should do is probably run your idea through the Lean Canvas. This is just a simple tool that businesses should look to push their idea through. Next is government stats and statistics. Now, there's a whole bunch of information that the governments collect from all around the world on different statistical data on different industries, and that, and depending on your idea, it might prove really useful in terms of number of size of the market or number of operators within the industry, or so on and so forth. And this can go down to state and local level as well. Competitive advantage. So you've got to be really honest with yourself, and you've got to say, do I have a competitive advantage? What can I do? What am I going to do that's different to what's already been done? How am I going to add value in a sustainable way? How am I going to stand out from the crowd? Barriers to entry. So this is both a good thing and a bad thing. So you need to ask yourself after you've gained all this information from above, what are the barriers to entry for this idea? Are they low, medium, high, or high? Um, Barriers to entry are good and bad. They might be bad if barriers to entry are high for you to get in. It might cost you, the start cost might be really high to get into it, which is hard for you to get in, but it's also good in the sense that it keeps other people out. So if you can get in and it's a high barrier to entry, you might be able to enjoy healthy margins. So be honest, and everyone's situation and idea is completely different. Another idea that we suggest is running a mini ad campaign. So by this stage, you'll have all your keywords and a whole bunch of research, and you might want to, throw a few bucks at some small ad campaigns and drive people to a sign up form or a landing page or something like that, just to see and start measuring what the reaction is to your new idea or product. And then it comes down to final checks. There's a few final checks that you want to go through, and then I guess the most important one is once you've gained all this information on your new idea or product, is what what's the level of passion that you have for your idea. Um, you'll have a lot more information than what you did hopefully before you started, but your passion might have been around here before you sort of tested or validated your idea, and maybe it's waned a bit, or maybe your passion for the idea has gone up even higher because you're confident that you can make a real success of it. So we hope that helps in terms of testing your business idea before you pull the trigger. Again, this checklist works best after you've read the article because it explains every step of this process and gives a lot more detailed information and links, tons of links and information on how to go about each one of these steps on the checklist. So we hope that helps, and if you need any more information, you can head to strategystate.com.